The Galactic Council chamber was alive with color and sound. Thousands of alien delegates filled the air with whispers, hums, clicks, and electronic voices. The walls shimmered with holograms showing Earth's image turning slowly in the void, blue, green, white, fragile. At the center of the chamber, under a beam of cold blue light, stood a single human woman. Her name was Elena Drake, Ambassador of Earth. She stood tall and calm, her hands clasped behind her back. The council floor was so vast that her small figure looked almost lost among the towering alien forms. The air vibrated with tension. Every eye, every sensor, every lens was fixed on her. The Supreme Chancellor rose. It was a being of light and plasma, contained in a floating glass sphere. Its voice echoed like thunder and whispers mixed together. "By the order of the Galactic Council," it announced, "the vote has been cast. The decision is final." The chamber fell silent. The light dimmed. Then, one by one, the results appeared in glowing letters above the chamber floor. Exile, 987. Abstain, 19. Against, 4. The Supreme Chancellor's voice rang again. "Humanity of Earth is hereby exiled from the Galactic Compact. You are forbidden from participating in any trade, alliance, or diplomatic contact. Your ships are barred from all shared routes. Your species is to remain within your star system." The silence that followed was heavy. Some alien delegates nodded in satisfaction. Others looked uneasy. Elena didn't move. Her eyes scanned the room slowly. "So?" she said softly, her translator repeating her calm tone in hundreds of alien tongues. "This is your decision?" The Chancellor pulsed with light. "It is." Elena took a small breath. "Then Earth accepts your judgment." A wave of murmurs broke through the chamber. Some thought she would beg for reconsideration. Others expected anger. But she only looked up at the glowing council seal above her head and said, "I will return this message to my people. But remember this." Her voice hardened slightly. "You wanted this." She raised her wrist and tapped her communicator. A soft tone filled the room. "Ambassador Drake to command," she said. "The verdict is confirmed. Initiate Project Exodus." Before anyone could respond, her form shimmered in light. She vanished in an instant, leaving only the fading echo of her last words. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted. Some demanded she be detained. Others insisted humans would not dare act against the ruling. But deep down, fear had begun to crawl through the assembly, because everyone in the galaxy knew what humans were capable of when cornered. Hours later, on the outskirts of Earth's solar system, human ships began to move. Silent, massive vessels hidden in asteroid shadows came to life. Engines that had been cold for years flared with light. In orbit around Mars, the Terran assembly met. Dozens of leaders appeared as holograms around a long circular table. The room looked out over the red planet, and beyond it, the small blue dot of Earth glowed faintly in the darkness. Elena Drake appeared among them. Her expression hadn't changed. "The vote is final," she said. "They've chosen Exile." A man with gray hair and a heavy voice leaned forward. "Exile, after everything we gave them. After saving half their trade lanes during the Gamma Plague. They repay us with this," Elena nodded. "We always knew this might come. They feared us. They feared how fast we advanced. They feared that we didn't play by their rules." A younger officer, his uniform marked with the insignia of the Space Corps, asked, "So what do we do now, Ambassador?" Elena looked out the window. "We stop asking for permission." Her words hung in the air like a spark waiting for fuel. Then she spoke again, clear and steady. "Activate every fallback protocol. Bring all colonies online. Recall the fleets. Seal the gates," the commander blinked. "Seal the gates, ma'am?" "Yes," Elena said. "Every wormhole gate humanity built for the Council's trade network. Shut them all down. Not a single ship passes through without our approval. The galaxy wanted us gone. They can live without our roads." Across the solar system, operators turned keys and entered codes. One by one, the wormhole gates, the massive rings of light and gravity that connected hundreds of worlds, went dark. A ripple of silence spread through the galaxy. In minutes, whole trade networks failed. Thousands of alien ships were stranded in deep space with no way home. Entire economies began to tremble. On the Council's homeworld, chaos broke out. Communication lines buzzed with panic. Delegates screamed for answers. The Council's engineers insisted the gates were malfunctioning, but data soon proved the truth. Every human-controlled node had been intentionally deactivated. The Supreme Chancellor summoned the science delegates. "Can they truly do this?" it asked, its voice trembling for the first time. A tall insectoid researcher clicked nervously. "They built the gate system, Chancellor. They understand it better than we do. If they choose to remove themselves, we cannot stop them." The Chancellor dimmed its light. Then perhaps Exile was a mistake. But it was too late. On Earth, the night sky began to change. Satellites shifted orbits. The moon's surface glowed faintly as ancient machines buried deep beneath it powered on. Entire continents were busy. Factories roaring, launch pads lighting up the skies, AI networks waking from deep sleep. People didn't cry over the exile. They didn't riot. They didn't beg for mercy. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Project Exodus had begun long before the Council's vote. A secret initiative buried under layers of misdirection, hidden in plain sight as research programs. It had one goal: to ensure that if the galaxy ever turned against Earth, humanity would not just survive, it would rise beyond reach. Elena Drake stood in the command tower overlooking the Pacific. The sea reflected the trails of dozens of ascending ships. "They think they've cast us out," she said quietly. "But what they've done is release us." Beside her, a younger officer smiled faintly. "Where will we go?" Elena looked up at the stars. "Everywhere they told us not to." 3 days later, a message appeared on the Council's primary network. It was simple. One line of text in every known language. "Earth acknowledges exile. Contact unnecessary." No encryption, no threats, just silence after that. But across the galaxy, strange reports began to surface. Ships near human sectors detected massive gravitational shifts. Deep space probes vanished without a trace. Observatories recorded patterns of light moving in coordinated formations. The Council dismissed them as rumors. But one image, captured by a scout drone, spread in secret among military analysts, a formation of human ships creating a spiral pattern in deep space, expanding outward. It wasn't random. It was deliberate, and it was growing. In the last hours of the 7th day, the Supreme Chancellor received an encrypted report. It came from a deep space observatory near the outer edge of human territory. The transmission was weak and filled with static. Through the noise, one sentence could be heard: "They're not retreating. They're building something huge." Then the signal went dead. On Mars. Elena Drake watched the holographic display as ships formed their long lines, fleets uniting, engines bright against the void. The room was silent. Every officer, every worker knew the meaning of this moment. Elena finally spoke. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "They exiled us to the dark," she said. "Let's show them how well we shine there." Outside the window, the first great wave of human ships vanished into the black, leaving only the red planet behind. Far away, in the empty silence of space, the spiral of human light continued to grow. Slowly, silently, and endlessly. Humanity wasn't running. Humanity was preparing, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. The galaxy woke to silence. For the first time in centuries, the great trade gates between worlds were dark. Ships that had crossed thousands of light years found themselves stranded. The blue glow of human wormhole technology, once scattered across the stars, had faded into blackness. No one knew how or why. They only knew that Earth had kept its word. On the planet Reiner, a group of alien traders stood on a landing platform, staring at the empty sky. One of them, a tall creature with thin silver skin, tapped its communicator again and again. "Nothing but static," replied. The captain shook his head. "They've shut it all down," he muttered. The humans did it. All across the galaxy, panic spread. Economies that had depended on human technology began to break. Fleets that used human-built gates for transport were trapped far from home. Messages filled the Galactic Council's network. Pleas, protests, demands. But Earth sent no answer. Inside the council chamber, the Supreme Chancellor listened to the noise of 1,000 angry delegates. The air shimmered with holograms showing failing trade routes and broken communication lines. "This is a crisis," shouted one delegate. "They've cut us off from half the galaxy." Another added, "You said Exile would control them, not cripple us." The Chancellor raised its glowing form and spoke slowly. "Order. We will send a diplomatic message to Earth. They will listen." But they didn't. Every transmission to Earth was rejected. Every diplomatic shuttle was turned away by automated defense systems orbiting the solar system. It was as if humanity had sealed itself behind an invisible wall. On Mars, Elena Drake watched reports from deep space observers. The wormhole gates were offline, just as she ordered. The Horizon Network, a secret array of faster-than-light corridors, had replaced them. Unlike the old gates, these new ones were invisible, hidden, and entirely under human control. Only Earth's ships could use them. She stood before a large window, looking out at the growing fleet that orbited Mars. The ships gleamed silver and white, engines glowing with faint blue light. Some were cargo vessels, others warships, others were something new, shapes no alien eye had ever seen before. Behind her, Commander Rios spoke. "The Council is panicking. Half their colonies can't reach their homeworlds. They're sending distress calls through every frequency." Elena nodded. "They'll realize soon that we aren't coming back." Rios hesitated. "Do you think they'll send a fleet?" Elena's gaze stayed on the stars. "If they do, they'll learn why Exile was the wrong punishment." Across the solar system, humanity moved with quiet precision. Factories on the moon built new star drives. The orbital platforms above Jupiter launched carriers the size of small cities. Earth itself had changed, its skies now filled with lines of ships moving in perfect formation. Civilian transports left the planet daily, heading for distant colonies. The Horizon Network shimmered faintly as one ship after another disappeared into hidden tunnels of light. Humanity was leaving, not in fear, but with purpose. The Council called another emergency meeting. The chamber was filled with tension and unease. A reptilian delegate slammed its claws on the table. "They've shut down every gate! We can't reach our colonies. Do something!" The Supreme Chancellor's voice echoed. "A containment patrol has been sent to their borders. They will re-establish communication, but the patrol never returned." Days passed. Then weeks, no signal. Only fragments of broken transmissions came through, filled with static and screams. One recording showed a fleet drifting in the dark, engines dead, their hulls scarred by unknown energy. The Chancellor replayed the message in silence. A scientist entered the chamber, trembling. "We've analyzed the remains," it said. "It wasn't a weapon, it was a gravitational field. Something bent space around them until their ships collapsed." The Chancellor dimmed. "Can humans do that?" The scientist hesitated. "No one should be able to." Far away, beyond the edge of mapped space, human fleets gathered. They were not running, they were building. In the darkness, new colonies formed on hidden worlds. Stations grew into cities. Solar systems were transformed into living fortresses. Elena Drake visited one of them, a vast space city orbiting a gas giant. Its towers shimmered like glass. Thousands of ships moved around it, silent and synchronized. Engineers worked without rest, guided by AI overseers. A young technician approached her. "Ambassador, the last of the colonies have been linked." "The Horizon Network is stable," Elena nodded. "Good. Begin Phase 2. He hesitated. "Phase 2, ma'am." "That means, I know what it means," she said. "The galaxy wants us gone. We'll give them their wish." Back on the Council world, reports continued to arrive. Observatories near human territory detected strange movements. Fleets forming in spiral patterns. Light fluctuations across entire sectors. It looked like a massive structure was being built, but its purpose was unknown. A nervous delegate spoke to the Chancellor. "Perhaps we should reconsider the Exile." "Open peace talks again," another scoffed. "Peace? With a race that builds weapons out of gravity? They were dangerous before. Now we can't even see what they're doing." The Chancellor said nothing. It looked up at the hologram of Earth's system. The map flickered with warning signs, restricted zones, blocked gates, missing ships. "Maybe," it said quietly. "We exiled them too soon." One night, a transmission appeared on the Council's main network. It came without warning, and it played in every known language. The voice was calm, familiar. It was Elena Drake. "You wanted distance," she said. "Now you have it. You feared our growth. Now you'll never see it again. Earth accepts exile. The galaxy is free from our influence. Do not follow us." Then the message ended. No threats, no anger. Only silence. But that silence frightened everyone. Months passed. The Council sent scouts to watch the edge of human space. None came back. Only faint signals were received. Echoes of engines, strange lights, and patterns that defied understanding. On a distant mining world, a Thran scientist looked through her telescope and froze. In the black sky, she saw thousands of lights forming a spiral that stretched across the void. It was beautiful and terrifying. She sent her report to the Council with a single line. "They are not retreating. They are building something enormous." Elena Drake received the same report on Mars. She watched the image of the spiral as it expanded through deep space. Around her, the room was filled with quiet awe. Commander Rios whispered, "What is it, Ambassador?" She smiled faintly. "It's our future." Rios frowned. "The Council will think it's a weapon." "They already do," Elena replied. "Let them think that. Fear will keep them away." Outside the Martian window, the stars seemed to shift as hundreds of ships entered the Horizon network. Each one carried colonists, scientists, soldiers, and engineers. Each one carried hope. Elena turned to her crew. "They exiled us to the dark," she said. "Then we'll master the dark. Let them see what happens when you cast humanity out." Her ship rose from the red planet, engines glowing bright. As it entered the corridor of light, the sky around Mars flickered, then stilled. The stars looked peaceful again, as if nothing had ever moved there at all. But far beyond that quiet sky, humanity was on the move. Millions of minds working together, billions of hearts determined never to kneel. Again. The galaxy might have thought it was safer. Without Earth, it had only given humanity the space to become something far greater. And in the silence between stars, the faint echo of a human voice drifted through the dark. "You exiled us once. You will never find us again." The galaxy had grown quiet, but it was not a peaceful silence. It was the silence that came when everyone was waiting for something to happen. Trade routes near human space were empty. Patrols sent to investigate never came back. Stations on the edge of known space reported strange readings, then went dark. The Galactic Council told its people that Earth was rebuilding and would soon collapse without their support. But deep down, no one believed that. In the outer sectors, wreckage floated among the stars. Ships from several alien races had vanished while trying to enter the old human zones. When salvagers went to search for survivors, they found only cold metal drifting in silence. Some hulls were crushed inward as if the space around them had folded like paper. Others had been cut with perfect precision, sliced clean by forces unknown. In the council chamber, fear began to grow. The Supreme Chancellor called another meeting. Its glowing form pulsed as reports filled the air. "We have lost contact with the containment patrol. No signal. No survivors," it said. A delegate with green scales leaned forward. "Then send another patrol." "They cannot be allowed to build weapons in exile," another smaller creature hissed. "We already sent 3 fleets. None have returned. They are not fighting us with ships. They are doing something else." The Chancellor turned its glowing eyes toward the hologram of Earth's system. "Explain." The creature trembled. "Our sensors detect huge energy readings in their territory. But they are not moving like fleets. It looks like construction." "Construction of what?" "We do not know." Far beyond the Council's reach, humanity was working. The spiral of ships seen months ago had expanded into something vast. From a distance, it looked like a shining storm, a moving constellation. It was a network of stations, ships, and artificial suns, each one connected through invisible corridors of folded space. Elena Drake stood on the command deck of the ship Horizon 1, watching as engineers reported progress. The holographic display in front of her showed thousands of dots forming complex patterns. Every day the formation grew larger. Commander Rios stepped beside her. "Phase 3 is complete," he said. "We've finished the first gravitational array near Titan." Elena looked at the display. "Good, begin testing." He hesitated. "If this works, we'll be the only species that can control a gravity field at that scale." She turned to him. "If it doesn't work, we'll still be the only ones who dare to try." The test began. In the darkness beyond Saturn, space itself seemed to ripple. The stars around the array stretched and twisted like reflections on water. Then the distortion vanished, and a new light appeared where there had been none, a small artificial sun floating in the void. Rios stared. "It works," Elena smiled faintly. "Then it begins." While humanity built, the galaxy watched with unease. Scattered reports came from distant stations. A mining crew near the border picked up a human distress beacon, but when they arrived, they found no ship, only a perfect sphere of frozen light hanging in space. Another scout reported seeing a human fleet moving between stars faster than sensors could track. The council refused to believe the rumors. "They are trying to scare us," one delegate said. "They want us to think they are gods." But even the chancellor could not explain the growing fear. Systems near human territory began to go dark one by one. Communication satellites stopped responding. Entire sectors fell silent. One night, a deep space probe captured something strange. A formation of human ships surrounded a dying star. Instead of mining it, they seemed to be pulling it apart, using controlled gravity to strip the outer layers, feeding the energy into massive reactors. The recording showed the star dimming and then vanishing, leaving behind a bright artificial core. The scientist who viewed the footage whispered, "They are making suns!" The council chamber filled with outrage. "They can't do that," shouted one delegate. "You can't just move stars." The chancellor's voice was heavy. "Apparently, they can." Elena Drake's ship moved silently through the new colonies. She looked down at the planets below, green worlds filled with human cities, orbiting artificial suns. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. An aide approached her. "Ambassador, the council has sent another message. They request a meeting." Elena didn't look up. "And what do they offer?" They ask for trade talks. They say the galaxy is suffering without our technology." She gave a small laugh. "They exiled us and now they want our help." Rios frowned. "Should we answer them?" Elena turned to face him. "No, let them wait. Let them learn what exile truly feels like." Outside the window, a massive structure was being completed. It stretched for thousands of kilometers, glowing faintly blue. At its center was a black sphere that absorbed all light. It was one of the new human weapons, though few even among the military understood how it worked. Rios looked at it with awe. "We call it the Silent Eye," he said. "It can pull fleets out of warp and freeze them in real space." Elena nodded. "Then it will keep us safe." The council grew desperate. They sent messages to every known species begging for information, but every report was the same. Anyone who entered human space vanished. The once powerful races of the galaxy began to stay close to home. One scientist dared to speak to the council. "You feared their aggression, but this is something else," he said. "They are no longer trying to fight us. They are removing themselves from our universe. They are changing space itself." The chancellor stared at him. "What do you mean?" "They are making their own galaxy inside ours." On the far edge of human space, an alien reconnaissance ship drifted through the dark. The crew had been silent for hours. Then their sensors detected a faint signal, a human transmission repeating again and again. They followed it, curious. As they approached, their instruments went wild. The stars around them began to move. The crew looked through the windows and gasped. The sky was folding inward. One of them shouted, "It's a trap!" But it was too late. Their ship's hull stretched and vanished into the distortion. The last thing their sensors recorded was a message in the human language. "You exiled us to the dark. Now the dark belongs to us." Elena Drake watched the report from the observation deck. The galaxy's borders were clear now. Human space had become unreachable. The council had stopped sending ships. Trade had ceased. Communication had gone silent. Humanity stood alone and stronger than ever. Commander Rios joined her. "The council won't come again," he said. Elena looked out at the stars. "No, but they'll never stop watching. Fear keeps their eyes open." He paused. "What now?" She smiled faintly. "Now we build something greater. The Arc-Light Frontier, a network of colonies that will move through the stars, free from any council." He looked surprised. "Move, you mean?" "Yes," she said. "We will not stay still. We will not be trapped in one place ever again." Rios looked out at the stars and whispered, "They'll call it war." Elena shook her head. "No, this is not war. This is evolution." Outside, the spiral of ships continued to grow, forming lines that reached across the void. In the distance, new stars shimmered where none had existed before. The galaxy watched, helpless and afraid, as humanity rewrote the shape of space itself. And in the heart of it all, Elena Drake stood calm and silent, watching her people rise beyond the limits of the known universe. The humans had not been exiled. They had been set free, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council met in panic once again. The chamber was filled with frightened voices and flashing lights. Reports had come in from every corner of the galaxy. A whole star system had disappeared. Not destroyed, not burned, but gone. The stars that had once shone there were now replaced by empty black space. No radiation, no debris, no trace of life. It was as if someone had picked up an entire solar system and moved it somewhere else. The Supreme Chancellor floated above the council floor, its bright light flickering with fear. "We must understand what has happened," it said. "Who could do such a thing?" A trembling delegate spoke. "It was near human territory. They were the last to send a signal," another voice shouted from across the chamber. "Then it's them! The humans have done this!" The room filled with chaos. Some denied it, some demanded war, and others simply sat in silence, remembering what happened to the last fleets that had entered human space. No one wanted to follow them. The Chancellor raised its voice. "Order! We must confirm the truth before we act." But deep down, everyone already knew. Far away, at the edge of the galaxy, humanity was no longer hiding. In the darkness, massive engines hummed around a group of stars. They were part of the Arc-Light Frontier, a moving chain of colonies that could travel through space. Humans had built machines large enough to shift the position of planets. What the galaxy thought was impossible, Earth had already done. Elena Drake stood in the command center of one of the Arc-Light hubs, watching a hologram of the galaxy. The stars glowed softly in front of her. Whole systems were marked with human symbols, small points of light connected by curved lines. She had aged little since her last broadcast. Commander Rios entered the room. "Ambassador, the first movement is complete. The Alpha system has been relocated near the core. All life support is stable." Elena nodded. "And the other systems?" 6 more are in motion. The gravitational corridors are holding. The network is working exactly as planned." Elena smiled slightly. "Good. Let's hope they're watching." Outside her window, the sky rippled like water. Entire planets moved slowly, pulled through folded space by invisible waves. The stars shifted positions. Humanity was rewriting the map of the galaxy. The Galactic Council received another report from their astronomers. A second star system had vanished. This time, they caught part of the event on record. The video showed faint blue lights surrounding the system before it flickered out of sight. When the image returned, the system was gone. The Chancellor watched the footage again and again. "They're taking them," it whispered. "They are taking entire worlds." A scientist stepped forward. "We believe the humans are moving systems into an artificial corridor. It connects through folded space. But the energy required—" "It doesn't matter," interrupted another delegate. "They can do it. We saw the results." A voice from the back of the chamber said quietly, "If they can move worlds, they can move ours." The room fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's rulers felt helpless. In the Arc-Light hub, Elena prepared a message. The holographic screen glowed with soft light as she spoke, her voice calm and clear. "This message is for the Galactic Council," she began. "You feared what we could become. You feared our ambition, our speed, our strength. You exiled us to the dark, hoping we would fade. But exile is freedom, and freedom is evolution. She paused, her eyes steady. You pushed us away. You cut our ties. You made us alone. And alone, we became unstoppable. The message was broadcast across every open frequency in the galaxy. Worlds from one edge to the other saw her face appear in their skies. Her words echoed in every language. Do not come looking for us, she said. You would not understand what we are now. Then the transmission ended. The galaxy trembled. The Council sent spies, but none returned. Sensors placed near human space showed readings that made no sense. Stars bending around invisible masses, light curving into spirals, strange pulses from deep within the void. Even time itself seemed to distort near the edges of the arc-light frontier. One scientist explained it best. They are not just moving through space. They are reshaping it. Panic spread again. Civilizations that had once ruled for millennia began to fear extinction. Some worlds prepared weapons. Others tried to hide. A few called for peace. But none dared send a ship toward the humans. Elena Drake walked through one of the new cities on the planet Haven. The sky above was bright with twin suns, both artificial, both human-made. Children played under silver trees that grew in the perfect climate. Machines worked silently beside people, not as servants but as partners. Humanity had created something beyond what any other race could imagine. A young officer walked beside her. Do you think they'll attack, ma'am? Elena looked up at the shining sky. No, they're afraid. They will argue and hide and pretend they still control the galaxy. But they won't come here. Not anymore. The officer hesitated. And if they do? Elena smiled. Then we remind them who they exiled. On the Council homeworld, another emergency session began. The Supreme Chancellor's light was dim and weak. We cannot survive like this, it said. Our borders are collapsing. Trade is gone. Whole species are isolating themselves, a voice from the shadows replied. We should have never exiled them, the Chancellor flickered. Perhaps, but now it's too late. They are beyond our reach. Then a signal interrupted the meeting. It was faint but clear. The transmission came from deep near the galactic core, the region where no one dared travel. The message carried human encryption. The Chancellor opened it carefully, the screen filled with blue light, forming the words. Observation complete. Phase 2 commencing. The delegates stared in shock. One shouted, They are at the core! That's impossible! Another whispered, What are they doing there? No one had the answer. At the same time, deep within the arc-light frontier, massive engines roared to life. The new systems that had been moved were now orbiting near the galactic core, where gravity and radiation tore at space itself. But the humans were calm. Their machines held steady, glowing with controlled energy. Elena Drake stood on a command platform surrounded by stars and swirling light. Her voice was steady. Begin the core tests. Technicians obeyed. Panels lit up across the room. Rios watched the readings. Ma'am, this is dangerous. No one has ever been this close to the core. Elena nodded. That's why we're here. To understand what no one else dares to. The engines fired again. A beam of white light shot from one of the systems toward the center of the galaxy. Space shook. Waves of energy rolled outward, passing through entire sectors. From far away, alien sensors detected the surge. It was unlike anything ever seen. A single message followed the wave. The darkness listens. In the following days, stars across the galaxy flickered. Strange gravitational storms formed and vanished. The Council tried to understand, but their instruments could not explain it. Some believed the humans were experimenting with forces that even they could not control. On Haven, Elena stood with Rios as the light of a distant supernova lit the sky. They'll come to us soon, Rios said quietly. Elena nodded. Yes. Not with threats, but with questions. When they finally realize what's coming from beyond the edge of the galaxy, they'll understand why we did this. He frowned. Beyond the edge? She turned to him. There are things older than the Council, older than us. They're waking, and we are the only ones preparing for them. Rios looked at her with confusion and fear. You mean, yes, she said softly. They exiled us for being dangerous. but we were never their threat. We were their shield. She looked up at the stars, now swirling and shifting under human control. The galaxy had cast Earth out, but now Earth was moving the stars themselves. In the council chamber, far away, the Chancellor watched helplessly as one of the missing systems reappeared on the maps, now orbiting close to the galactic core. From its surface came a soft repeating signal in human code. Phase 2 active. Awaiting contact, the Chancellor dimmed. The chamber was silent. The galaxy finally understood what Exile had created. Humanity had not fallen. Humanity had ascended, and soon the rest of the galaxy would see what that truly meant. The galaxy was silent. Every channel, every frequency, every corner of space was filled with the same sound, a low, constant hum that came from the galactic core. It was not a message, not even a signal, but something deeper. It pulsed through the stars themselves, shaking planets and making suns flicker. No one knew what it was except the humans. They had been waiting for it. In the center of the Arclight frontier, Elena Drake stood in the observation dome, her eyes fixed on the swirling light of the galactic core. Around her, machines buzzed, screens flashed warnings, and technicians moved quickly. The hum was getting stronger. Commander Rios entered, his face pale. "It's begun, ma'am. The core's barrier is breaking. Every reading is off the charts." Elena nodded calmly. "And the outer defenses?" "Already. The shield lines are stable. The generators are holding at full power." She turned slowly, looking at the glowing map before her. Whole star systems moved in patterns like living organisms, linked through invisible corridors of folded space. Humanity had built something no other race could imagine, a network of stars that could act as one. "Then we proceed," she said softly. "Activate the Arclight array." Rios hesitated. "If we do this, there's no going back." "There was never a way back," she replied. Outside, dozens of artificial suns ignited in sequence, their energy joining into a spiral of light that reached toward the galactic core. Space itself began to shimmer. The humans had turned the heart of the galaxy into a weapon, a beacon, and a shield all at once. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos returned once again. The Chancellor glowed faintly as reports flooded in from every direction. Systems near the core were destabilizing. Gravity was shifting. Fleets were disappearing. A trembling delegate cried out, "They've lost control! The humans are destroying the core!" But the Council's lead scientist spoke up. "No, this is not destruction. It's coordination. Look, the chamber's main display lit up, showing a map of the galaxy. A perfect spiral of human-made light surrounded the center, forming what looked like a cage of energy." The scientist's voice shook. "They're sealing it. They're locking something inside the core." A cold silence filled the chamber. "What are they locking away?" the Chancellor asked quietly. The scientist looked up, eyes wide. "Something that was trying to get out." In the depths of human space, the Arclight array reached full power. Beams of white light linked each system together, forming a pattern that wrapped around the galactic core. Elena stood at the central control console, watching as the readings climbed higher and higher. Rios stared at the data. "Energy levels are beyond theoretical limits. How are we even holding this together?" Elena's voice was steady. "Because we learned from what exiled us. Fear pushed us to evolve, and evolution gave us the strength to do this." Then the hum changed. It became a deep, slow voice. It was not speech, not sound, but every living creature could feel it inside their minds. It was something ancient and vast, something that had been sleeping for billions of years. From the galactic core, a dark wave began to rise, a shape without form, a shadow of pure gravity and thought. It stretched through the light, trying to escape. Rios froze. "What is that?" Elena's face hardened. "The reason we were exiled. They didn't know it, but the Council's fear of us was not their own. It was this thing. It's been whispering to them for eons." The dark wave struck the barrier of light, and the stars trembled. Whole systems shook. The Arclight ships strained as the power surged through them. "Hold the line," Elena said firmly. "Do not let it through." Across the galaxy, beings of every race looked toward the sky. They saw the stars flicker, the spiral of light forming like a great shield around the galactic center. The Council watched helplessly. Their fleets could not even get close. Their ships broke apart from the pressure. On a distant world, a small alien child asked its parent, "What are the humans doing?" The parent looked up with fear and awe. "They are fighting the dark between stars." Inside the Arclight Command, alarms blared. One of the outer generators had collapsed. A nearby system, home to millions of colonists, was at risk. Rios turned to Elena. "If we don't cut that line, the energy backlash will destroy everything in the corridor." Elena stared at the map. The failing system was her home, Earth's first colony in deep space. "We hold," she said. "Ma'am, we hold." The humans on that world knew what was happening. They saw the black shadow pressing against the sky, trying to break free. And they stayed. Every scientist, every engineer, every child, they stayed to keep the line stable. When the system finally broke, it didn't vanish quietly. It exploded in a flash brighter than any star, feeding the array with its last burst of power. The wave of energy sealed the last gap in the barrier. The shadow screamed without sound. The galaxy shook once more, then fell silent. The hum stopped. For the first time in recorded history, the galactic core went quiet. The swirling mass of energy calmed into a stable, glowing sphere surrounded by a cage of light, the Arclight barrier. Humanity had locked the ancient darkness away forever. Rio sat at his console, shaking. "It's done," he whispered. "We did it." Elena looked at the screen. "No, they did it," she said, thinking of the people who gave their lives. "Humanity did." She turned to the window. The galaxy looked peaceful again, but it was not the same. The Council would rebuild, but they would remember. Weeks later, a new signal was sent from the Arclight frontier. It reached every world, every race, every council member. Elena's face appeared again, calm and steady. "Galactic Council," she began. "This message is not a threat. It is a reminder," she paused. "You feared us. You exiled us. You thought we were too dangerous to live among you, but it was that same danger that saved you." Her voice grew softer. "The darkness beneath your feet would have ended everything. We stopped it. Not for power, not for revenge, but because life is worth protecting." She looked into the camera. "We will not return to your council. We have our own path now. But remember this. If the dark ever rises again, it will be humans who stand in its way." The message ended. Far away on the council world, the Supreme Chancellor sat in silence. Around it, the delegates whispered nervously. One of them said, "They saved us. The humans saved the galaxy." The Chancellor dimmed, its voice faint. "Yes, and they did it without us." Another voice added, "Then perhaps we exiled gods." The Chancellor did not answer. It simply looked toward the core, where a faint white light still glowed. In the Arclight Command Dome, Elena stood once more, looking at the stars. Rios joined her quietly. "Do you think they'll ever understand us?" he asked. "Maybe one day," she said. "But we don't need them to." He smiled. "So what now?" She watched as new construction ships moved into formation, building fresh corridors between the stars. "Now we build a new future. One where no one decides who belongs to the galaxy." The stars reflected in her eyes, thousands of them, each one connected by human hands. Humanity had begun as exiles. Now, they were the architects of the galaxy itself. And as the Arclight array shone brighter than any sun, the last words of Earth's oldest anthem echoed across the stars. "We are the children of light, and light does not bow." The galaxy would never forget the day humans were exiled, because that was the day humanity learned how to rule the stars.